Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who are Jesus' truth and sincerity. And a shout out to Yakim that's out there on four quarters of the earth proclaiming this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Bracha Tum. So, let's start out with wars and rumors of wars. As you know, this thing's rising. World War III right around the corner. And, you may as well just go ahead and say it, man. This is more than a rumor of war. This is happening in our presence today. The new proxy war in Syria, Iran and Turkey versus Saudi Arabia and Russia. This is an article from AMN News. You know, these alternative news agencies that they're trying to crack down on. Alright, let me try to take out the commercials because I really fucking hate pop-ups. As if the Syrian conflict couldn't get any more complicated, a new proxy war is brewing between several foreign powers in the northern part of the country. Speaking from Damascus on the condition of anonymity, a government source told Al-Masdar that the two new alliances have emerged in northern Syria, with one led by Iran and Turkey, and the other Saudi Arabia and Russia. According to the source, Turkey and Iran have forged a pact to not only carry out a joint operation in northern Iraq, but also potentially in northern Syria. Meanwhile, Russia and Saudi Arabia are attempting to work out a deal that would see the Syrian government and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces reach a peaceful settlement. So, a turn of events here, because the Syrian Democratic Forces are the terrorists that the United States is protecting. And you know that Saudi Arabia is right there with the United States. Saudi Arabia maintains close ties with several Arab tribes. Notice that word Arab, which means mixed race, aka Amalek, to the allied Syrian Democratic Forces, including the Shamar tribe, who arguably the most powerful tribe in the northern Syria. And so now we'll just get into the Syrian oil crisis. Iran is the biggest foreign supplier of the oil to the Syrian Arab Republic. However, due to the ongoing sanctions against both countries, Tehran has been unable to send their oil tankers to the ports of Latakia and Tartus. And you see why these other terrorists are getting more ground by cutting off their fuel supplies. You see what I'm saying? Enter Turkey, who, despite being opposed to the Syrian government, is working with Tehran to possibly find an alternative way to ship oil into Syria. According to the source, one way to get Iranian oil to Syria is through Turkey's western ports. Iran is allowed to ship oil to Turkey as long as their tankers do not deliver anything to Syria. Okay, so you see how that's being cut off also. In turn, the Syrian government would pay money to transport the oil from Turkey through the rebel-held areas. You see, they just want their cut. The source pointed out that immediately the Iranian foreign minister's visit to Damascus last week, he immediately flew to Ankara when he met his Turkish counterparts to deliver the messages from the Syrian government. Saudi Arabia is arguably one of the most powerful countries in the Middle East and one of the key peace brokers in nearly every conflict in the region. Yeah, peace, right. Or we'll send war, right. Russia, who maintains a strong relationship with the Gulf region, has often relied on the Saudi government to facilitate peace talks between the countries in the Middle East. You see how Amalek's always got to have its foot in the door? The Saudi government is also at odds with Turkey and Qatar, especially after the death of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi last October. And if you're a wrestling watcher, they're doing another event in Saudi Arabia. So that's letting you know where the troops are being sent, the 150,000 troops. Seeing an opportunity to possibly end the hostilities between the Syrian and Saudi governments, the Russians are facilitating a potential rapprochement between Damascus and Riyadh. The Syrian government needs reconstruction funds, and they need Saudi Arabia's influence to possibly broker a deal with the U.S. So, sounds like a chess move to me, because we know that Russia's being thou a guard unto them. While Syria is a close ally to Iran, they have facing credible opposition from Turkey and Qatar, who are arguably the two biggest supporters of the Syrian government's enemies. Turkey, Iran, and Qatar have their own alliance in the Middle East, which is mostly focused on the Palestinian cause. However, Syria has benefited little from this alliance, and with the ongoing field crisis and lack of reconstruction funds, they may choose the path set forth by the Russians. So anyhow, this is just pretty much giving you a summary, just this thing's going to escalate. And remember that video I showed yesterday about how you sort of didn't need to know the words? Well, now I actually have it written out. New batch of displaced Syrians returned from El Rukn camp via Jalagun corridor. And this is areas that the Syrian Arab Army has liberated from the terrorists. They're finally able to return home, whatever's left of it. Okay, it looks like we got a video here, so let's see if we can get this thing to play.
في إطار جهود الدولة السورية لإعادة المهجرين بفعل الإرهاب، عادت دفعة جديدة منهم اليوم إلى الوطن قادمين من مخيم الركبان بمنطقة التنف على الحدود السورية الأردنية عبر ممر جلغمبر في حمص الشرقي.
والله من يوم أن نروح المهيل ما شفنا الخير. أرقبان يا لطيف، حياة قشرة تعيسة وكل شيء ما بو. الهواء هذا غير الهواء غاد، الهواء هذا هو الوطن.
Sometimes you just got to go to the sources itself, their pages. This YouTube, you're not going to find it hardly.
الحمد لله كنا بسجن وطلعنا لجنة. الحمد لله كنا ذبحنا الجوع والعطش وأدعو أنهم ظلوا برا كلهم يلحقونا لحضن وطننا الحبيب.
عودنا على حضن الوطن وكنا عند الإرهابية يعني يخوفونا والخدمات كلها معدومة. أقسم بالله إنه الجيش استقبلنا أحسن استقبال. أنا هالحزينة بعد غياب أكثر من 5 سنوات معاود على وطني أخدم عسكري.
الحمد لله اليوم أني كني خلقان على الدنيا من جديد، رجعنا على حضن الوطن والحمد لله، وكنا محاصرين من قبل جماعة التنف والحمد لله نفذنا منهم ورجعنا على حضن الوطن. وأنصح كل واحد مخيم ركبان يرجع على وطنه وأهله.
سوريا الأم أحبتي وترابة.
Yeah, and they don't want any alternative news that actually shows you truth about what's going on over there. No, of course not. So, yeah, pretty much, let's see, weapons left behind by terrorist Dara countryside. So let's take a look at this. So, yeah, more weapons recovered from the so-called freedom fighters, right? I mean, that's what they try to sell us on. Oh, wait, Syrian rebels, right. Yeah. Okay, we could play that, but I think that we've seen a lot of those videos already. And here's another video, Gomer and all his bands. Erdogan, Turkey, proposed joint production of S-500 with Russia. So they don't just have the S-400s, they have the S-500s. So we're going to take a look at this.
Turkey is seeking to purchase the Russian S-500 missile defense system. That's what Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said in the weekend. He also stressed that Ankara's agreement with Moscow concerning the S-400 system is a done deal. Erdogan said Ankara does not intend to step back from the deal, despite the U.S. pressure.
S-400'lerin bize teslimiydi. I have made a proposal to Russia for the joint production of the S-500s. The S-400 deal is completed. Under the contract, the deliveries are to begin in July or maybe even earlier. Russia has offered us very good conditions. After that, we will talk about the S-500, including joint production, as well as S-400.
Turkey has made it clear that it is determined to deploy the Russian missile defense system on its soil, despite the position by the US. Turkey says it will provide for its military needs from whatever sources it needs to. However, Washington has threatened to impose sanctions on Ankara and even warned Turkey that this could cause it to lose its NATO membership.
Turkish position is very clear. Turkey is willing to acquire S-500 with Russia once the S-400 deal is completed, and this shows that Turkey will not step back from the S-400 deal. The US now wants Turkey to end the deal, or else it will impose sanctions. However, Turkey seems to care less about US sanctions.
Turkey was trying to seal a deal with the US on F-35 fighter jets as well as Patriot missiles, but the US suspended their delivery, citing Turkey's interest in Russian missile defense systems. Ankara says it was forced to seek Russian alternatives due to Washington's foot-dragging. The statement by Turkey's president on Russian missile defense systems is considered a call for war with the US as a NATO ally, but observers say with the ongoing economic crisis, Turkey cannot afford American sanctions. Rashan Saglam, Press TV, Istanbul.
Okay, so the U.S. wants to go to war with Turkey. You heard that, right? With Gomer and all his bands. And my question is what kind of bullshit are you trying to sell? You don't even have the capacity. U.S. warplane crashes fourth to go down this month. So, your planes are shit. And this is in North Carolina. This is another one. This is not just, the one at March Air Force Base. So this is another one that went down. That was on May 20. U.S. Marine Corps Harrier fighter jet crashed in North Carolina, raising concerns among Pentagon officials about another bad year for military aviation, as the Pentagon had already lost 4 aircraft this month. The aircraft went down near the Marine Corps Air Station, Sherry Point, in Havelock on Monday, according to a report by website military.com. See, they don't want you knowing about this shit. You're not seeing this on the mainstream media, right? The pilot ejected before hitting the ground, but had to be taken to the hospital to receive treatment, the report added. No civilian casualties or property damage were reported after the crash, according to a release by the Marine Corps. The crash had also been coronered by military office officials. The U.S. Marine Corps news release stated, the cause of the mishap is currently under investigation. Well, you know that about this. Just days ago, an Air Force F-16 fighter jet crashed into a warehouse outside March Air Force Base in Riverside County in Southern California. This says this. The Pentagon needs to address concerns about the high number of deadly military crashes over the past few years, says a top Republican lawmaker. So, again, what are you threatening them with? Looks like your shit ain't working. Fuck you, Esau. And here's another one. Will Trump regime war hawks attack Iran militarily? I'm glad they're using that language, regime, because, yeah, it's under the regime of Donald J. Trump. That's what this, whore Babylon the Great is. It's a regime. We may as well just call it the Trump regime. That's a good name for it. Washington has been hostile towards Iran since its 1979 Islamic Revolution, freeing the country from the U.S. imperial control. I go into this often when I mention the history. I mean, it's just common knowledge. Republicans and under Democrats want what was lost regained. Key is eliminated Israeli state's main regional rival and gaining control over Iran's vast oil and gas resources. See, at one time they used to control Iran, but not no more. Will the Trump regime hardliners pursue their objectives by attacking Iran military? Reportedly, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo urged continued war by other means, wanting Iran's economy strangled, its population suffocated, falsely believing economic, financial, and sanctions pressure can get its authorities to bend to Washington's will. Okay, I'll just continue here. U.S. actions towards Iran and Venezuela have been all about war by other means, along with heated rhetoric and provocative saber-rattling. In the run-up to the U.S. aggression against Iraq in 1991 and 2003, as well as the same thing against Libya and Syria in 2011, similar propaganda manipulated the public mind against these countries. What happened earlier isn't how I see things unfolding against Iran and Venezuela. Neocon extremist John Bolton, the lead instigator. On Monday, Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif slammed him, calling the Bolton Benjamin not Jew and the Saudi fuck prince Mohammed bin Salman and his United Arab Emirates counterpart, the anti-Iranian B team. You know, it sounds like the wrestling, right? B team, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, and again, you know, this is pretty much, they represent a lunatic fringe quartet hoping to achieve what Alexander the Greek, Genghis Khan, and other aggressors failed to do, adding U.S.-led economic terrorism and genocidal taunts will not end Iran. He warned Trump to never threaten an Iranian, advising him to try respect. It works, he explained. So pretty much, you know, this is escalated. Trump's overriding objective is getting re-elected in November 2020. If he thinks war on Iran or Venezuela will help him, he'll likely support what cool heads in Washington and Pentagon commanders strongly oppose. Polls show how Americans are weary, but not to the intent that they'll vote a U.S. president out of office for continuing to wage them because their minds are manipulated by U.S. media, propaganda, and distracted by bread and circuses. See, is this not what Apostle Ramla was talking about? It's just right there, you know. So you see, we're all on the same page here, you know. And that's why they don't want press TV on YouTube. And here's another article. Is General Wesley Clark's prediction of a U.S. invasion of Iran at hand? Remember the 7 countries that they said they was going to go into? No, it's worse than that. The U.S. is moving to a point of confrontation and crisis with Iran, according to retired U.S. General Wesley Clark. A warning that Iran has been a target of U.S. intentions issued more than a decade ago appears to be moving closer to realization. U.S. President Trump and his hawkish foreign policy advisors such as Buck Bolton and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo have been stepping up pressure against Iran in the wake of Trump's withdrawal from the Iran nuclear deal. Trump has also tightened economic sanctions against Tehran and blacklisted the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist group, you know. Trump has said he does not want to go to war with Iran, but he has also threatened to use military force against the country. On Sunday, he threatened to destroy Iran if the Islamic Republic attacked its interests. His most recent tweet appears to be a shift in tone, just days after what he said was interested in diplomacy and wanted to avoid war. Yeah, he basically shut his mouth. You know, so, you know, there's a punch in the face, you know. You know, I think that others like, man, shut your mouth. You know, because, you know, he's a hothead, you know, and they're like, man, that ain't no way to, you know, so they got him to calm down. If Iran wants to fight, That will be the official end of Iran. Never threaten the U.S. again, he tweeted. And that's the real, he just goes off, man, without even getting advisory. Clark, the retired four-star U.S. Army general and Supreme Allied Commander of NATO during the 1999 war on Yugoslavia, said in the 2007 interview that the purpose of the 9/11 attack was to take out the governments of 7 countries in 5 years. These 7 countries were Iraq, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, and Iran. All of them have been attacked. The interview serves as a reminder regarding the diabolical timeline of the American Empire's hegemony project. All of these countries have been directly or indirectly been the objective of the U.S. aggression. Following the excerpts on General Clark's interview with an Army Goodman, the host of Democracy Now!, an hour-long American TV, radio, and internet news program hosted by Goodman and Juan Gonzalez. So pretty much, though, man, they're just taking a look at it, and, I think that was it. Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and back to Iran. So when you look at Iran, you say it's a replay. It's not exactly a replay. But here's the truth, that Iran from the beginning has seen the presence of the United States in Iraq was a threat, a blessing, because we took out Saddam Hussein and the Baathists. They couldn't handle them. We took care of it for them, but also a threat because they knew that they were next on the hit list, and so of course they got engaged. They lost 1 million people during the war with Iraq, the 8-year Iran-Iraq war, which was brokered by Israeli state and Saudi Arabia funding Iraq to go after Iran. And they've got a long, and of course the U.S. help, an unprotectable, unsecurable border. So it was their vital interest to deeply involve inside Iraq. They tolerated our attacks on the Baathists. They were happy we captured Saddam Hussein. But they've building up their own network of influence, and to cement it, pretty much just kind of go into the history here. And if we're not going to do it, let's put it away. We're probably cognizant of it and encouraging it, so it's not surprising that we're moving to a point of confrontation and crisis with Iran. So, their intention was to go after Iran all along, just exactly the way that the interview said. That finally they would go after Iran after weakening them with an attack on Syria and Yemen. And this is a snippet from The Last American Vagabond, who has some interesting information about, pretty much Venezuela is getting more supplies from Russia because, Russia's not one that you can threaten, not like they've been trying to do with Iran, You don't want to taunt Putin. And I think that's another reason why Trump all of a sudden backed down from it. He says, well, we don't really want a war with Iran. But you saw the tweet, you knew.
Let's move on to a couple other updates before we end the show today about what's going on in Venezuela. And as I've always pointed out, these things all clearly tie together in so many different ways. I mean, not to mention the fact that we just talked about Israel being present in South America, which I'm sure that's not important to the mainstream media, but they care so much when Russia helps Venezuela and their ally. It's just wild hypocrisy. Clearly there's connections here, but this from Zero Hedge. Russia announces delivery of more supplies to Venezuela's military. Clearly, in my opinion, showing you that Russia is not fazed by the threats of the United States, knowing that this is another failed effort. I think at this point, with how bad it's gotten, I'm going to go ahead and guess that I feel like the U.S. is going to try to just kind of slowly let this be forgotten. I really hope it's not going to go the other way, which would be military invasion. I really don't see them having any other options at this point. But it seems like we've shifted to Iran in such a way that I think they could essentially just kind of slowly phase out the Venezuela talk and try to make themselves not look as bad, while maintaining an agenda of destabilization, just like they do in Syria. So they can continue to point to it and say, see, we're trying to fix that, but it's because of them it's happening. Same thing they're doing in Syria right now. They failed in Syria, again, because of Russia. Russia saving the Syrian people, along with Iran and the Syrian government. Facts. Pesky little facts. Interesting, the correlation to all of it. Now, even after repeat threats from Donald Trump, which we've all seen, over and over and over, about what's going on in South America, Russia now appears just completely unconcerned by these warnings, and announced that its Maduro support, their support for Maduro, well ahead of time with their state media, which they haven't really done in the past. They're openly saying this is about to happen. Now, Russian news agency TASS said on Friday, citing a military diplomatic source, that Russia plans to supply Venezuela's army with more than 16,000 field rations. As I understand it, a little over $200,000 in value. Now, this is clearly meant to show Washington that the Kremlin is not going anywhere, and plans on helping yet another ally avoid U.S. liberation, which looks an awful lot like destruction. Now, though Venezuela has retreated from the headlines, as the article puts it, in recent days, it clearly has, and with Maduro in full control, which he very much is, reportedly hunting down the failed coup plotters, which we've talked about recently, analysts now fear that the U.S. and Russia are settling in for a protracted proxy war, a new Cold War of sorts in Latin America, which is exactly what Bolton himself said. But as always, they want you to ignore such relevant points, such as what the man himself actually said, and instead trust the political talking points regurgitated by the mainstream media. But, as documented by Eva Bartlett in one of her recent articles, a great one, by the way, which you should read, U.S. is manufacturing a crisis in Venezuela so that there is chaos and needed intervention. Now, the article reads, in a meeting with the U.S. Peace Council delegation in mid-March, Venezuela's Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza spoke of the openly hostile U.S. leadership. It says, quote, when you have such an administration saying almost every single day, all the options are on the table, and they say the military option is not discarded, then we have to be prepared for all of the options. Which, it makes perfect sense. It's clearly they're threatening hostile action. Now, when we told Mr. Elliot Abrams, the coup has failed, so now what are you going to do? He kind of nodded and said, quote, well, this is going to be a long-term action then, and we look forward to the collapse of your economy. That's the demeanor of a sociopath. I mean, we'll look forward to the collapse of your economy that we know are killing people, right? Even if you pretend the sanctions aren't hurting people, the collapse of your economy clearly affects civilians. But that's the point. That's what they're doing. And here he is on record that mainstream media would never report to you, basically saying, yeah, well, screw you. We'll look forward to the collapse of your economy because you're resisting. We're going to kill everything and destroy your country until we get what we want, because that's what we do.
And that's all that the U.S. has done, in all these places that it's invaded. Continuing on, more in Syria, pretty much this is from South Front.
In the nights of May 17th and May 18th, the Syrian Air Defense Forces, SADF, intercepted several unidentified objects over Damascus and the southern part of the country. In both cases, the intercepted targets came from the southern Syrian border near the contact line with Israel. Some sources speculated that the SADF was repelling Israeli strikes. However, no explosions were reported in Damascus and its countryside, as well as pro-government sources were not able to present any vestiges of intercepted missiles. The situation with the interceptions remains unclear. At the same time, the Damascus government and Russia came with another peaceful initiative for Idlib militants. On May 18th, the Syrian Arab Army SAA introduced a temporary ceasefire, halting offensive operations around Idlib, in particular northwestern Hama. Militants reacted to this announcement in their common manner. On the same day, unguided rockets were launched at Russia's Memim airbase and the nearby villages of Al-Qarashir and Khwais. A civilian was killed and several others were injured in the shelling. There were no casualties for Russian personnel or damage to the airbase's facilities. Clashes between Hayat Tahrir al-Sham and the SAA also continued in northern Latakia. On May 19th, militants claimed that the SAA has used munitions armed with chlorine gas in the area. However, according to prominent sources, the gas attacks caused no casualties. Multiple anti-tank guided strikes by militants were also reported in northwestern Hama. These developments serve another confirmation that ceasefire agreements work not so well in the areas with a high presence of Hayat Tahrir al-Sham members. If the SAA and its allies are set to fulfill the ceasefire, it will likely mark the end of the operation in northwestern Hama. Meanwhile, in northeastern Syria, the Syrian Democratic Forces (SDF) and the US-led coalition continued efforts to consolidate control over this part of the country. The SDF and the coalition pay special attention to combating the remaining ISIS cells along the eastern bank of the Euphrates. If relations between the SDF and the Damascus government remain at the current low level, the US-led coalition will use the current situation to turn northeastern Syria into its de facto protectorate.
South Front is a crowd-funded endeavor,
which is their main goal, to keep Syria pretty much split. And this one's in Gomer and all his band's area, massive landslide. Yeah, there's a landslide that just happened here in Gomer, and then you already saw the blood red in Persia.
You're looking at a massive landslide that has taken place in Turkey here. You're going to go through some of these images that show that this whole hillside is just given away. They're saying that at least 53 buildings and a mosque have all been wiped out in the process of the land giving way here in Turkey. Now, as of right now, they're not saying that there was an earthquake or anything like that associated with this, or if it was on a fault line or anything like that, or if there was any other explosions in the region. They go on to say here that they had to evacuate a total of 61 buildings and 80 houses in this process. Now, although there isn't anything associated to this or with this here in terms of a quake or something like that, they do say that there was some slippage back in February, but nothing else said to that. If there was an underground cavern, if there was water or some erosion that was adding to this, but you really can't tell from this shot. I'm not going to play the video footage here on YouTube because they'll end up dinging me for a copyright strike, but I'll leave a link so you guys can watch this clip. And in the clip, you can actually see all of the houses that came down this hillside and the buildings. They're stacked up here. Let's see if there's a screenshot here. Yeah, there you go. You can see that they're stacked up, pummeled up all down through here at the bottom of this. But prayers going out to people that need them out there across the world, and we still don't know if there's people trapped in this mess or not, but we're going to leave a link below so you guys can check out that video clip, and also make sure to join me over here on DLive. This is a place where I can share things over here more freely. We talk about things more freely, and there's going to be exclusive content uploaded over here shortly, and there's already exclusive live streams going for hours over here consistently. So make sure to join us over here, DLive.
And that's just it, though. We may end up having to go to these alternative sources because, well, you already know what they've done with Facebook, but nonetheless, though, there's more on this because Facebook has to go with the Israeli state or, pretty much it gets shut down. Well, check this out.
As the U.S. media continues to go on about alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, it has now been revealed by Facebook that there has been a massive operation emanating out of Israel to interfere in the elections of at least 3 continents. That's right, Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Now, the Facebook has uncovered an extensive Israeli-run political influence campaign that has been changing reality for its clients and has been targeting elections in Africa, Latin America, and Asian nations for years. The social media platform has shut down 65 Facebook accounts, 161 pages, 23 groups, 12 events, and 4 Instagram accounts run out of Israel, citing its policy on coordinated, inauthentic behavior.
This is a strike against Amalek.
Some pages boast as many as 2.8 million followers, while thousands of users have joined the groups and expressed interest in scheduled events, though Facebook isn't sure whether those events actually happened. What's really dishonest about this is that these pages, these groups, etc., posed as mainstream media outlets. Now, they weren't like some guy giving an opinion on the internet, and you know that is just some guy saying something. These were deliberately deceiving. They were deliberately created to look like mainstream media in order to mislead the public. They pumped out glowing stories and smear jobs on candidates in local elections, including leaked information, and the campaigns primarily targeted Nigeria, Tunisia, Angola, Senegal, Togo, Niger, and though some activity was focused on Southeast Asia and Latin America. Although I imagine the Latin America one was probably Venezuela. Now, this shows that the Israelis invested considerable time and money into this deception. This is not just like some guy in Israel was doing this. This was very clearly a state operation. They dropped about $812,000 on ads. That is a lot of money, almost $1 million on fake ads promoting pages and images that were meant to look like actual mainstream media outlets. Deliberately win this information. It's with $112,000 on ads over the past 7 years in dollars, shekels, and Brazilian reals. Now, compare this to roughly about the $100,000 mainstream media claims that Russia spent on bots to sway the 2016 presidential election. Now, if it's so outrageous that this alleged Russian interference, which has shown to be complete and utter BS from the testimony of the tech companies themselves, particularly Facebook, who said that most of the ads that were purchased ran after the election actually took place, and that no one saw the majority of them to begin with. And if $100,000 of that is unacceptable and total interference in the elections, then what is $812,000 to pages and groups intentionally made to look like mainstream media outlets to deliberately put false information? What would you call that? Where is the mainstream media to say anything about that? Where is Rachel Maddow to scream, Israel is coming, Israel is coming, the way that she pounded the gavel of Russian conspiracy theories? Of course, the United States media is absolutely silent. The UK media, the media of almost all imperialist countries, have been dead silent on this issue, because it is considered normal practice for Israel to interfere in the U.S. political scene, and it is considered acceptable for them to interfere in the elections of other countries as well. Because, of course, the United States and Israel are on the same page. They are defending each other's interests in particular sections of the world. This is not a Jewish conspiracy. This is not a conspiracy of any kind. This is literally two global players defending each other in particular spheres of influence in different regions of the world because they have a common goal in an alliance. So, look at this. Where is the outrage? Where are the Democrats to pound up and down that Russia was doing, Israel was doing this, Israel's doing this? And those same people are nowhere to be found on this issue. They are dead silent. Because it is considered acceptable by the mainstream U.S. political establishment to allow Israel to interfere in not only the elections of the United States through a legitimate super PAC, AIPAC, whatever you want to call it, but it's also considered acceptable by the United States for Israel to interfere in the elections of others. Thank you for watching. If you
gotta remember though that they also control you through a religion, especially stretch Christianity. They tell you that you gotta support Israel, support Israel, support Israel, and that's not the real Israel, man. Those are the fake Jews, man. The Zionists. So you gotta support Zionism if you be a Christian. So they have this sphere of influence in just about everything, because that's part of Esau's witchcraft. And yes, you can best believe religion is a part of it. And this comes from Men of Valor. I believe this is the South Carolina branch of Men of Valor, but very important topic about, this being the year Karagma, man. This is just another sign to us.
Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory, honor, and praise unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakakwadash. Call on Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harakakwadash. Yahweh is the true name of the Heavenly Father in ancient Hebrew tongue. Yahweh Shai is his only begotten Son. And the Rakakwadash is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit and the Most High Power of the Spirit we come in the Rakakwadash. I want to give the apostles of Great Millstone and the elders who rule Yahshua well through the Spirit double honor and say salutations to the Most High Powers elect. Beginning with the 144,000 Akim, the men of the Lord, the servants and prophets of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, the men who were sighing and crying for all the abominations done in this place, on down to the righteous remnant of believers, those Israelites who believe our report, as the prophet Isaiah said, through the Spirit. This is going to be a quick prophecy update. Okay, I was reading this article on ZeroHedge.com. This was published yesterday, Sunday, May 19. And you can see the headline. It says Whole Foods now accepts cryptocurrency. Shalom. Shalom. Yahbashim Yahshua Barakatah. And shalom. Shalom to the lambs of Yahbashim Yahushai. All right, the hopeful elect. Once again, the headline reads off of Zero Hedge: Whole Foods now accepts cryptocurrency, and this is the way of the new society, man. This is what Esau Edom's New World Order hinges on. All right, the end of the petrodollar, okay, and in the beginning of the cashless society, in the beginning of the microchip, okay, which is the mark of the beast, okay, the RFID microchip, the near field communication, as it's called in Europe. This is going to come to pass, man. All right, and you know, you tribes, you're going to be tried, man. All right, that hour of temptation is coming to where you're going to be tried. Are you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians? All right, and you Israelite foreigners, you scattered confusion of faces, you're going to be tried, man. All right? If the hour of temptation is upon us, you're going to be tried. Okay, you're going to be presented with a choice, man. All right? Now, the elect are going to choose life. All right? The elect, through the power and spirit of Yahbashim Yahushua, are going to choose life. The 2/3, you're going to choose death, man. All right? You're gonna go along with the Amalek's New World Order, okay? You're going to willingly bow down and worship his image, okay, and receive his mark in your right hand or in your forehead, all right, or some other part of your body, pursuant to Revelation 13. And you're going to be destroyed now, all right, right along with the heathen who are going to take this, all right, right along with Esau, Edom, and the rest of the heathen nations, okay. But the hour of temptation is coming now. It's like, let me get that and then I'll read this article. Because the mark of the beast is here, man. It's here. So let's get Revelation 3. And Revelation 3 and verse 10. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. And it reads, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, Slakia, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So see, he's going to keep his elect from this hour of temptation, man. Okay? Hey, because there's going to be brothers in FEMA camps, all right? There's going to be brothers on the run. There's going to be brothers holed away, you know, protected, ducked off, all right? What have you. Wherever you are, if you're one of the Lord's elect, he's going to protect you, man, and keep you from this hour, man. You're not going to give in to that temptation. All right, it says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world. So see, this is going to come on everyone, man. The whole world, all right? The whole inhabited earth, to try them that dwell upon the earth. All right? It's going to try everyone who dwells upon the earth, man. Okay? Verse 11, behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. And that's what we're seeking to do, man. Through the power and spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Hold on, man. Hold this truth tight. Don't let it go. All right? Don't let it go, man. Don't let anyone take your crown, man. Nobody. Don't let a family member. Don't let a old lady. Don't let your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousin, what have you. Don't let anyone take your crown. All right? Pray to the Most High, Yahweh Shem Yahshua, to keep his Wakakwadash on you, man. All right? Going into Psalm 51st chapter. All right, let's get into this article. Once again, Zero Hedge. Headline reads, Whole Foods now accepts cryptocurrency. Whole Foods, Barnes & Noble, GameStop, Bed Bath & Beyond, Caribou Coffee, Jamba Juice, and Crate & Barrel all have something in common. They will start taking Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Gemini dollars. This is possible by a revolutionary payment network called Flexa, built using cryptocurrencies, which allows mainstream consumers to spend their digital assets at brick-and-mortar stores across the U.S. So slowly but surely, you're going to see major retailers, you're going to see everyone else follow suit. All right, you're going to walk into a retail chain one day, all right, and you're going to pull out a traditional debit card or a traditional credit card, all right, or you're going to pull out your paper or your coinage, and they're going to just look at you funny, man. They're not going to take that, okay? They're not going to take it, okay? If you can't see this through the spirit, then, the Most High is not working with you. This is what's getting ready to happen, all right? The $5 bill I spent today at the store just a little while ago on a bottle of water, and I ain't going to be worth the paper it's printed on soon, all right? It says, according to The Verge, consumers pay for items using Flex's app, Spedden, which generates a QR code that consumers scan at the checkout register. Upon the scan, the merchant receives instant payment in dollars, and the equivalent amount of cryptocurrency is debited from the consumer's cryptocurrency wallet. And I'm going to play this quick video.
It used to be that the only thing you could buy easily with cryptocurrency was more cryptocurrency. Buying things with crypto like Bitcoin has always been complicated. Until now. Introducing Flexa, the new payments network that powers everyday crypto commerce. Now you can shop using Bitcoin, Ether, Bitcoin Cash, and the Gemini dollar, the digital dollar on the blockchain. No fees, no markups, no hassle. Take Flexa with you to buy coffee, clothes, food, electronics, books, entertainment, cosmetics, pet supplies, and more. The Flexa network is accepted at over 30,000 stores worldwide and counting. Learn more about Flexa at flexa.network and download Spedden, the first app on the Flexa network to start spending crypto today.
Okay, so it's already available in 30,000 stores worldwide now. All right, and like the lady said, this is going to continue to expand to where everyone who's in business is going to have, this system set up where everything's digital, and ultimately you won't scan your cell phone, all right, or your watch across the card reader. You'll hold your wrist over the card reader, okay? It'll scan your body because it's getting ready to go inside of you, man, all right? That's how Esau Edom is going to enslave you tribes, man, all right? And ultimately, his ultimate aim, all right, Amalek's ultimate aim is to eliminate 90% of the Earth's population, man. He only wants 500 million worker bees on the planet Earth, man. Esau's pushing it heavy. We know he's the ringleader. You got Moab pushing it heavy. Moab is pushing the shit hard, man. All right, the so-called Chinese. All right, they love technology. The so-called Japanese, the Ammonites, they love technology. So, but yeah, man, hey, Amalek is at the head, man. He's at the top of that pyramid, man. He's at the top of the chain, all right? As it is written, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. All right, that's Esau Edom, Job 9:24, all right? continuing on, it says Flexa mentioned on its website that it believes the existing payments infrastructure established 5 decades ago is completely broken. Cash alternatives like credit and debit cards are insanely costly per transaction for merchants and are prone to cyber attacks. And you know, that's what they'll push on the masses of people. You know, they're gonna push on the masses, on these sheeple, okay, on these revolters, on these reprobates out here, okay, that hey, you know, we got to go to this new system because the old system is broken, it's too slow, it's prone to cyber attack, you don't want to get hacked, blah 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 blah. We're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. All right, that's his selling point. His selling point is speed and privacy, man. Okay, that's how he's going to sell the earth. Okay, that's how he's going to make these people willingly turn themselves into robots, man, cyborgs. You know, because the 2/3 and the rest of the human nations, begin what you saw. You know, they're impatient, man. They're carnal. Okay. Instead of instead of, quote, bolting cryptocurrency payments on top of debit cards, end quote, the payment processor company said it took to a new approach. Built out thousands of new connections with tens of thousands of merchant point-of-sale terminals nationwide in 2018 to bypass the existing payments infrastructure and allow cryptocurrency-based payment authorizations directly to merchants. Okay, so that's how they're going to get the merchants. Once again, I mean, direct payment. All right, no waiting, and cheaper. Okay, so it benefits everyone. It benefits the retailer, all right, the merchant, and it benefits the end user. Okay, the catch is you lose your soul though if you're a so-called Black, Latino, or Native American. You take this and you lose your soul, man, and you wind up burning in a lake of fire, man. Okay, in front of Yahushua and the holy angels. With the world of payments evolving, Flexa could be part of a massive shift towards cryptocurrency point-of-sale terminals at major retailers. And that's an understatement, okay? There is going to be a major shift. You know, Amalek, chiefly, is very deliberate. He's working off a timetable, man, all right? They're going to crash the economy at the appointed time because, you know, who do you think is controlling Amalek? All right, the Most High today is controlling all these kings. Okay, but they're gonna crash the old economy. All right, after a false flag which they carry out. All right, and they're gonna continue to implement this digital way of life, man. And so ultimately, once again, Revelation 13 kicks in. All right, where you're not gonna be able to buy a cup of coffee without having that chip inside your body. Okay? And once again, hey, the Lord's elect are going to be protected from this, man. We just read it in Revelation 3 and 10. All right? We just read it in Revelation 3 and 10. Okay? And those brothers, all right, those men, women, and children who have to give their sword, or it's like give their necks to the sword, all right, who have to go up under a guillotine in one of these FEMA concentration camps, the comfort for them, all right, that could be any one of us, is the dead in Yahushua HaMashiach shall rise first, man. So, just a quick article. All right, I'll post a link in the description. All right, we're at the end, man. All right, we're at the end of Esau's age. Okay, repent. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. I don't want to write this out. You were edified. And with that, I want to say shalom.
And this comes from another Men of Valor channel. This one, I believe, in the West Coast here. I'm not sure if it's West Coast South or North. But either way, it's Men of Valor on the West side, man. This is what's also happening that they don't want you talking about.
How about Shemel Shai? Keep our eyes on this World War III update, World War III news with biblical prophecy. U.S.-Iran conflict would hit energy supplies, says Iranian general. General Salah Jokars also says Iranian missiles could easily reach U.S. warships in the Gulf. Iranian missiles could easily hit U.S. ships in the Gulf Any conflict would threaten global energy supplies, a senior Iranian military official said. As tensions simmered on Friday, Tehran blamed the U.S. for an escalating regional crisis that Western intelligence officials fear could lead to open conflict. If war happens, the world's energy supply will suffer, General Salam Joker, deputy commander of the Revolutionary Guard, said on Friday. He added, Iran's short-range missiles can easily reach present U.S. warships in Gulf. Iranian military leaders say the Trump administration maximum pressure approach, which includes crippling sanctions on Tehran's economy and an unilateral pullout from a nuclear deal, has forced an inevitable reaction. Been saying we're at war already. These sanctions is war. These sanctions is war, man. This is Ezekiel 38 coming to pass. You have Spain, Britain, France, Germany all condemning this war. Britain condemning this war. They're not with the U.S., and that's the beast hating the whore. This is all biblical prophecy coming to pass, screaming. Keep your eyes on the news, man. You watchmen watching the news and warn the sheep. Shalom.
And so there's even more going on because remember what I had stated yesterday in the video? Well, even Last American Vagabond is talking about the false flag attack in Baghdad.
But let's begin on this train of events with a story from before this, coming from Strategic Culture, entitled, U.S.-Iran Showdown is one false flag away from global calamity. Clearly, this is what we're seeing develop. Now, as the article begins, hypocritical to the core, the execution of false flag events spare aggressive states the embarrassment of appearing in public as the warmongering psychopaths that they are, lest their subjects get the wrong idea as to exactly who is governing over them. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just delivered a warning that was so far beyond the pale of reality that it sounded as though it were scripted by a Hollywood film director with a penchant for embellishing American history. And this is, of course, a letter that was recently put out just before this all kicked off today. Let's go ahead and read this letter and see what Mike Pompeo had to say, and see how interestingly this, kind of maybe aligns exactly with what's going on. As we've seen before, they say, don't you dare do this one thing, and then it just so happens that they appear to do that one thing. We've seen this in Syria. We've seen this all over the place. This is classic U.S. foreign policy, using fake events, lies, manipulations to carry these things out. Now, the letter reads, on Iran's escalating series of threatening actions and statements. That's the sub-headline. I'd love to see, first of all, any of these things that he's pointing to, these escalation of events or these threatening acts, or are we just assuming that what they're pointing to is the truth? All the tankers and all the other nonsense that has been exposed and debunked so far, this is the same thing they talk about when they just kind of repeatedly point to Syria and all of the chemical attacks that Assad has been responsible for, except all the ones we've debunked and all the times the UN has said it wasn't them, and they just keep saying it. They just keep on saying it. Same thing here. Iran's the leading sponsor of terror, and they do bad things, and all this stuff they can't point to. Now it says the Islamic Republic of Iran has engaged in an escalating series of threatening actions and statements in recent weeks, period. So I guess we've all just moved on from the obvious reality that this is completely stemming from fake intelligence handed to Bolton from Israel, which we've already shown you is simply normal moves they've conducted in their own area. That's it. And they use that to step on to create the next event, which is seemingly another false flag, a dented boat used to make it seem like there's massive things happening, and yet nothing has happened. No evidence has shown up. Even their own allies are saying, what the hell's going on? With one picture of a dented boat. Then we have Saudi Arabia claiming even more random things, tying the Houthis to it, and this is all completely unverified with no evidence, and yet he says point blank, actions and threatening statements in recent weeks, period, as if that's just a given, and we all agree on that, but in fact, most don't. It goes on to say the response of the United States and our partners and allies has been clear. We do not seek war, which I think is absurdly the opposite of clear. We do not seek war, except you're in war with basically every country around the world today, it would seem. And the United States has been at war 99% of its history. Yeah, but they don't want war. Of course not. Throw aside your discernment, the facts, your information. Just trust him, as always. It goes on to say, but Iran's 40 years of killing American soldiers, attacking American facilities, and taking American hostages is a constant reminder that we must defend ourselves, he says. Again, as we have U.S. bases encircling the country of Iran, Iran hasn't attacked another country in over 250 years. All of these things we continue to point out are facts, undeniable, uncontrovertible fact. And yet he wants you to believe that the past 40 years has been consumed, not with the U.S. overthrowing and toppling countries and leaving them decimated, killing civilians, unprecedented amounts all around the world. No, but Iran doing nothing in their country, except defending themselves. This is what we should be afraid of. 40 years of Iran essentially doing things that they claim they're doing with no evidence. He goes on to say the regime in Tehran should understand that any attacks by them or their proxies of any identity against U.S. interests or citizens will be answered with a swift and decisive U.S. response. So basically, anything happens anywhere that we decide to say is just kind of tangentially connected to Iran, we're going to attack you because of it. We're going to do something. It's exactly like we saw in Syria. Hey, if anything happens anywhere, if anyone uses chemicals, we're already going to blame Assad. So somebody please do it so we can point to Assad. Now the same thing. Any attacks by them or their proxies, but of course we understand that these proxies that they claim are proxies, Iran denies, which certainly could be, but there's no evidence other than them saying so, such as Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, all of them. That's what they claim are the terrorists. Not the actual terrorists that are being funded by the U.S. and Israel and Saudi Arabia. No, but political groups that they don't like, so they call them terrorists. But anything happens anywhere by groups that they claim are connected, that's it. And remember, this happened before the events of today. Interesting. Now it says, our restraint to this point, our restraint. I can't even, he says, our restraint. I would love someone to point out any point so far where the U.S. has shown even the slightest bit of restraint. It says our restraint to this point should not be mistaken by Iran for a lack of resolve. To date, the regime's default option has been violence, and we appeal to those in Tehran who see a path to a prosperous future through de-escalation to modify the regime's behavior. Now he's speaking specifically to people like the MEK. They want to see this country changed, because they're the terrorist group that was once on the U.S. list of terrorism that Clinton took off, that Bolton and people like Rudy Giuliani and Elaine Chao, they've all supported and taken money for speeches and support these terrorist groups, as they support so many others. But as the default option has been violence. Again, this is so disconnected from reality, I can't even stomach it. Point to an example of Iran creating violence. Please. I'll wait.
That'd be fast.
And then Gopal rocket launcher, which was developed in the Soviet Union during World War II. Now, the cheap and effective systems that could be mounted on ordinary trucks were further developed after the war. They were supplied to many countries, including Iraq. The point being that this ultimately could come from anywhere at this point. So the claims to try to tie this back to, let's say, Russia, because it's developed in the Soviet, this is a false flag. This is coming. The U.S. has a very clear history of doing exactly that. Here's the image that was released with this, claiming that this was in Iraq, saying, okay, well, here is the bomb site of Iraq. Well, guess what somebody else online happened to find from earlier this year that was supposedly from Syria. How interesting. So we have the same image being reported as if it was from Syria well before this event happened. Right? Here's the image again. This was supposedly from today. Now, one or both could be lying. It could just be somebody chose the wrong image, or however you want to look at this. But what we should be asking ourselves, as always, not really knowing, because we'll never truly know, but we should be asking ourselves if this is not them lying to you, creating a fake event in order to carry out this kind of thing. That's what's called a false flag. Especially when it's been built up. When you've been saying, look at this bad guy over here, he's probably going to do something. If he does any of these things, then we might have to act. And then they do exactly those things. And then we find all of the information within the narrative leading up to it, riddled with holes and misinformation and things that don't connect. We need to begin to look at this stuff. Now, again, it's possible that the image from today was a mistake. I simply don't think that's the case. We know for a fact that the image, whether or not it was actually in Syria, was well before this happened today. The timestamp is there. So this is clear indication that something is off. And we also know now that John Bolton is on the way to the war room. Right? This is always an indication. We have English was even reporting that his people on the ground think it was something as simple as a mortar fire. So this, which happens in these war-torn countries all the time. But one thing happens like this, and all of a sudden Bolton's on his way to the White House. We need to figure this out. It's just one other indication that this is something that they were planning for. We have to recognize that. Now, here's the big one that I saw right before I went live. This is breaking news coming from the French press agency. Trump said, if Tehran wants to fight, it will be the official end of Iran. Now, you don't say something like that after this kind of event if you're not trying to stoke the tension. If they, like, clearly, this happens and he says, well, if you want to fight, it'll be the end of you. Now, he didn't say it explicitly, as I know some of his fans have a hard time with, but that is very clearly in response to this attack, which is very clearly implying that they're responsible for it. Nobody can know for sure what's really going down. As I always say, anyone out there telling you they know what happened is lying to you for one reason or another. But the reality here, my opinion, it seems very clear that this is another event being concocted by the very people that have just concocted the last 3 in a row, leading to the same event. Already full of holes, and even their own administration and people within Congress are pointing and saying this is out of control. There's something wrong here. I just reported about a bill that members of Congress, including a Republican, are right now trying to pass a bill that simply outlines that you can't carry out war against Iran. Ask yourself why we need something like that, knowing that Congress has the only authority to officially declare war. But we have to do it anyway, because this is how bellicose and dangerous things are today.
And that's just it, though, is the least of their flock is drawing them out into this war. So you can clearly see, though, that, they're falsifying evidence, meaning that they took footage from the Syrian Arab channels, which explains why the pro-Syrian government channels are taken down, as well as press TV channels taken down, so that way they could use snippets of war footage and then say, oh, well, U.S. Embassy was attacked in Baghdad, Iran most likely did it. You see what I'm saying? They are provocating war. Whether they actually go through and use this false flag or not, still, though, the fact is that it is being talked about. These are the things that we do need to talk about. Meanwhile, back in my neck of the woods, not too far from where I teach, this looks like it's near the Reading Convention Center. This is brought by the Reading Homeless Channel. That's, and he brings out a lot of interesting things that are going on here, because what's happened, especially since the car fire, in particularly where you got a new group of homeless, which these are the same motherfuckers that were always downing the homeless, wanting to get them removed, but now they've become homeless and now they're mixed in with it, and they are much more hostile. So what was once the 30% of Reading that was already homeless, now you got those of the car fire, which, like I said, there was a plan to burn California. Most of all, it was a judgment from the Most High, because the way that Esau treats their own, man, this is a decree, an unrighteous decree, the way these Edomites even treat each other, let alone how they treat others. But nonetheless, though, you got those of the car fire as well, and you can even see because it's going on in Chico too. It's going on all around, what Amalek is doing is he's reducing the population by creating these events, because remember, they only want 500 million. That's what the Georgia Guidestones say. Nonetheless, though, this is what's going on in Reading, my neck of the woods.
Good day to you. This is Chris with the Reading Coalition from the Homeless. And we're here to talk about Marcus and give you a perspective about exactly where Marcus died. You can see as California Street drops into, I believe, Pine Street here, that it is a very, very busy intersection. And that Marcus, when he was discovered, he had been dead for quite some time. The pool of blood, his hand was white, his thumbnail purple, blue, indicating to me that he had been here with his pants down, his butt in the air on a Saturday night in one of Reading's most populated areas.
Just a few blocks from where I teach.
And this is a Saturday night with the Reading Police Department driving by. Now, as we go around here, we can see that Safeway is just right over here. Now, the folks at Safeway, they were kind enough to let Marcus stay there. They let him stay in the bushes, but the weather started getting warmer, unfortunately, and Marcus had to leave. As he told me, the sprinklers came on early in the morning and drenched him at Safeway. Although Safeway is a pretty good place for him, it would not be good for him to be soaking wet. As you can see again just how populated this area is, and you can see everyone goes by here, and it was on a Saturday night that Marcus was laying here, and he laid here for quite some time. And it's right on the corner, Safeway, Lulu's fine dining restaurant, and you can see the memorial that was built for Marcus here, the kind people that have laid flowers. Again, it is absolutely crazy how a corpse could be laying here in the middle of Reading for over, I believe, 12 hours on a Saturday night. People walking by, lights on him all night long with his pants in the air, his butt in the air and his pants down. Hadn't moved an inch, apparently, all night long. So, if you could, if you feel the need, come on by. We're again the Lulu's parking lot. Drop some flowers by Marcus's, the last place that he drew his last breath. I'm sure that he'd appreciate it. Chris, Reading Coalition for the Homeless, God bless in Jesus' name.
Yeah, this is an Edomite that reports, but nonetheless, though, this is what goes on in Reading. They don't give two shits about the homeless. And like I said, that's 2 blocks from where I teach over there on South Street. You know, I teach on the corner of South Street and East, you know, pretty much around that corner, you know, and I teach over by the what used to be the Econo Lodge. It's called something else. It's pretty much a boarded up hotel. That's mostly where I teach. Sometimes I teach over there by Lib's Cafe. Nonetheless, though, this is my neck of the woods, you know. So, you know, homeless guy, this is why that was written years ago. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And this place is a place of death and hell and evil, you know, because keep in mind, the scriptures of Revelation chapter 20, and death and hell were cast in the lake of fire. In other words, this place will be burnt up very shortly here. And you can just see, though, that this is just, you know, it's a place of death and hell. Make no mistake about it. And this is his YouTube channel, if you want to look at it. Like I said, this is an Edomite who's actually pretty much, you know, reporting on these things, you know. And, you know, you can see he has a lot of videos up here. Reading police drive by homeless disabled amputee. Homeless man sleeps with head in gutter. Reading police driving by, you know, not giving a shit. To live and die in Reading, wheelchair disabled homeless. I mean, I've shown this on my channel, but nonetheless, though, just wanted to cite the sources. And he's got a lot of videos up here. Of course, he's under the guise of stretched Christianity. But nonetheless, though, you know, just one of the few that's actually, you know, telling the truth about what's going on, you know, and even shows you the cruelties of so-called Christian Bethel Church, you know. So, you know, this is what Christianity brings, you know, because good old Bethel Church is bulldozing the homeless away, you know, pretty much because they own a lot of property here, including the Reading Convention Center. You know, oh, but this is supposed to be Christian. Right, right. Meanwhile, back in Syria, and I'm probably only going to be able to play a little bit of this because you know how you get censored if you show too much. And this looks like the ruins of Palmyra. Well, just pretty much all of Syria is being demolished. Okay, this is Jabhat al-Nusra front.
Смотрите, какая красота. Все это досталось нам от Римской империи. А вот сегодня, всего в 3 километрах отсюда, силы «Тигра» начали операцию по штурму окрестных высот у села Киркат. Ну и лично нам это очень напоминает штурм Пальмиры.
رفاقي الضباط الأبطال، أخوتي وأبنائي المقاتلين الشجعان، في اجتماع وجوهكم ترتسم حدود الوطن ويسمو الإنسان بجوهره. فأنتم يا أخوتي من سجدت لهم عتاق الصحراء وتهاوت من سطوتهم الغبراء. أنتم أيها الأبطال بما أطعتم، أنتم السابقون بما أطعتم والراغبون لما قصدتم. ألويتم أصنام الكفر ومحوتم طاغوت الشر. أنتم ملوك الميدان وأنتم فرسان الإيمان، تضربون حصونهم ضرب الزوال. من ذاتكم يرتجل الجهاد ويخطو السماح عاصفا هادرا.
Горная гряда Шахшабу окомляет долину Альгаб с востока. Чтобы войска в Северной Хаме смогли продвинуться дальше, необходимо было зачистить как саму горную цепь, так и ее подножье. Силы Тигра начали огибать Шахшабу с низины. До конца весны трава еще не успевает высохнуть под южным солнцем. Все поля у оросительных каналов – это сплошная зеленка. В этих зарослях и засели группы боевиков, готовые встретить войска и потом отойти незамеченными беспилотниками. Поэтому перед тем, как броня и пехота отправятся на зачистку, в сотнях метров от них на упреждение била артиллерия и самолеты.
But we're supposed to believe Iran is the bad guy. I didn't see any pro-Iranian forces here in Syria, do you?
بس شوي الكود ركض واحد تعال عندي واحد يلا يا برزخ يلا بعت لي كمان مجموعات. تعال عندي يلا واحد.
Keep in mind, this has been happening for now going on 8 years. So this is the UN giving us 72-hour to pretty much reorganize the Al-Nusra Front, which this is supposed to be the freedom groups, right? You know, which Russia, as well as the Syrian Arab Army, have been pounding the targets of these terrorist groups. But nonetheless, though, yeah, this is supposed freedom fighters. Right. And of course, like everything else, though, you know, just brings me back to the scriptures. As you can see, though, you know, pretty much we started in the valley of Yehoshaphat, so I just read out of Joel chapter 3. For behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehoiada and Jerusalem, which is the northern and southern kingdom, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat, and will plead with them for my people, my heritage, Yashala, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. You know, and pretty much everybody has benefited off the slavery of we Hebrew Israelites, you know. Pretty much almost all the things that were built during the Roman Empire. You see that Palmyra was pretty much built during the Roman Empire. Well, who built that? The slaves. Who are the slaves? We, the Hebrew Israelites. And they have cast lots for my people. Okay, I already read that. Yea, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your head? So that's what's happening now, man. He's returning recompense upon their head. You're always seeing Gaza and Palestine and all these places, Palmyra, Idlib province, all these areas there in the Valley of Yehoshaphat. Because you have taken my silver and gold and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. They built their empire, and have lived deliciously. All the nations have lived deliciously under Esau, Edom, but now it's time to take it back. And that's why they're getting jacked up now in this third woe that's coming quickly. The children of Yehoiada and the children of Jerusalem, which you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. And that's what had happened. They gotten it to a point that we didn't even remember who the fuck we were, man. We become a byword. We don't even know. But this is coming to all you that were partakers in this. And I will sell your sons and daughters and your daughters into the hand of the children of Yehoiada, and they shall sell it to the Sabians, a people far off. For the Most High has spoken it. Proclaim this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. That's what's happening. You're seeing it. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. All of these countries are investing in Russian military and just pretty much building up their militias, man. They're not even doing anything else. Then they're just beating their plowshares and pruning hooks. Of course, with Gomer buying the S-500 systems and already bought the S-400 systems. Persia's very well armed. Libya has the S-400s as well. You don't hear too much about that. But yes, they have the S-400 systems as well. So they're under protection. And Libya is named in Ezekiel's prophecy. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yehoshaphat, for there I will sit to judge all the heathen round about. So he's pretty much judging this place. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes of the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai is near in the valley of decision. And that's what's going to happen. This is happening. It's being gathered. The sun and the stars shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw from their shining, meaning the nuclear destruction that's coming upon, especially Babylon the Great. And the whole world's going to see it when Babylon the Great is being destroyed. But make no mistake about it, upon that time, Syria, Damascus will be destroyed in that same hour, as well as Russia being destroyed in that same hour, because they're going to try to fight against the Most High. That's why that Space Force is being built. It's one of the last deals that Babylon the Great made with Mother Russia, and it was so that way they can fight against the Most High, because they know that the Most High is coming back with the angels. While they convinced everybody else that it's just UFOs and aliens, nah, this thing is going to escalate, and man, we just got to stay on fire for this. We're a step closer to this, as you can see. All the things leading up to it. You see that the mark is right around the corner. Showed you the gas station event, which also they have this at Chase, where you just pretty much wave your card across. You don't even got to slide it in, So, all this is being set up, So, for that, I want to say Barak the Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukakadash, Wa Abba Babal. Death to America and death to you 2/3. We're just about out of here. And a great day is coming.